Hello, everyone. Paul, we're going to get started here in just a second. Oops, it's the wrong one. Here we go. Now we're recording to the cloud. So let's get started here. Well, we're a couple minutes early. That's okay. We'll still get started.
It's fluffy inside.
Huh?
It's fluffy inside.
I don't know. I really don't. For y'all that are waiting for me to start, let me give you a little background on this. We did this broadcast or this paper last year. It's on YouTube under Paper 47, Part 1. Actually, we ended up doing 4 parts on the mansion world. So this is on YouTube already from last year. So we're going to redo it and try to hit a few things that we may have missed last year. I don't know if we missed anything or not. We had a pretty good meeting the first time. We had a gentleman named Troy that joined us that asked a few questions at the end that were very good. We enjoyed talking about it quite a bit. And so you never know, who might end up joining us again this year. We're not sure. I'm not sure how many people are going to be joining us online. I'm having a little issue with getting people to come to the meetings for some reason. A lot of people are listening, but they're just not coming to the meetings, unfortunately. So we're going to do it like just a podcast, me and my wife. If no one shows up, we'll just do it that way. She'll read and then I'll read. Huh? So she'll read and then I'll read. Bing, 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 bing. Just like that. You'll get tired of hearing this both. Waiting for the otter transcription to come up here in a second. There it is, coming up right now. Let me say hello for Otter. Hello, everyone. Dr. Roger Paul. Welcome to our meeting. So it's 6 o'clock, so we will get started. This is a picture of the 7 mansion worlds. And in this picture, basically the 7 mansion worlds are around the Father's worlds, which is world number 1 up here. So the 7 mansion worlds surround this. And what I wanted to explain to everyone is the fact that when you get clearance to a new mansion world, you also get clearance to one of these larger spheres and the satellites around them. So that's good to know. So that's what's coming in the future. There it is moving. Paper 47, the 7 mansion worlds. Okay. Jesus, the creator son, when on Urantia spoke of the many mansions in the Father's universe. In a certain sense, all 56 of the encircling worlds of Jerusalem are devoted to the transitional culture of the ascending mortals. But the 7 satellites of world number 1 are more specifically known as the mansion worlds. I heard myself talk. Join us on our podcast on Saturday nights at 6 to discover the many secrets of the mansion worlds. We'll talk about as many as we can. So we'd love to see you. Thank you. Let's see if I can get this. See all the old videos on the mansion worlds there. Okay, here we go. Paper 47. The creator son, when on Urantia, spoke of the many mansions in the Father's universe. In a certain sense, all 56 of the encircling worlds of Jerusalem are devoted to the transitional culture of the ascending mortals. The 7 satellites of world number 1 are more specifically known as the mansion worlds. So what I was saying earlier is this: all of these worlds, and as you progress through the mansion world, you eventually have clearance of them. That's why there's 56 of them. So we start out on satellite number 1, the Father's world, which is also the world for the babies. It's the nursery world for babies that die before they make the point of decision in their life after 5.5 years old. So As you get clearance from world to world, you get clearance to one of the satellites, and eventually, when you've got clearance on all 7 worlds, you will have gotten clearance for all the satellites together. And there they are moving again. How about that? Amazing what you can do with AI nowadays. Okay, here we go. You want to take the next one there? Get myself.
Transition world number 1 itself is quite exclusively devoted to ascendant activities, being the headquarters of the finaliter core assigned to Satania. This world now serves as the headquarters for more than 100,000 companies of finaliters, and there are 1,000 glorified beings in each of these groups.
Let me try this again. Might be able to hear me a little bit better if I'm unmuted. So let's try this again. The finaler cores. The finaler cores are a group of beings that are human beings, what they call finaliters. Finaliters are those who have gone through the entire ascension plan, and they have stood before God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit, and they're awarded finaliters. And as they go into become finaliters, they go into cores of 100,000 of them beings. And what they're talking about here is satellite number 1, the Father's world, is the headquarters of the finaler core for the mansion worlds. So they basically are there on that world. This world is also used as the nursery world for those children that die before the ages of decision. It's also where, if you did not have at least 3 children that you've raised, you get the opportunity to go and raise children that are being raised on this world by multiple types of beings, and you become, in essence, a foster parent to these babies. So if you did not get the opportunity to raise 3 kids, you'll get the opportunity to do this when you get to the first mansion world. Now, normally, you're required to get this certification of motherhood and fatherhood before you leave the first mansion world. But sometimes in certain situations, when someone is so spiritually advanced that they are considered above the norm, you might get assigned to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th, or 6th, even 7th world. And if that's the case, then you have to come back and still do this. But normally this is a requirement before you leave the first mansion world, because we got all kinds of time. You know, when you get to the mansion worlds, a million years is nothing. So gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different things. Okay, this is a picture of the finaliter worlds, and you can see both males and females go there. Okay, and this is the worlds that surround it, and these are the 7 mansion worlds. Okay. All right. My turn to read, right? When a system is settled in light and life, and as the mansion worlds one by one cease to serve as mortal training stations, they are taken over by the increasing finaliter population, which accumulates in these older and more highly perfected systems. Now, let me first explain what light and life is. Light and life is when a planet system and eventually a local universe reaches a certain point in evolution where everything becomes more and more and more perfect. Okay, and when the planet reaches light and life, and the system eventually the local universe, these mansion worlds are no longer used as mortal training stations. Reason being because we lose those people that are raised on a sphere that's reached light and life live a more perfect life. So they don't have the barbaric tendencies that we do when we leave this planet. So there is no reason to retrain them in mansion worlds, where when we leave, because we've been raised in such a barbaric atmosphere our whole life, we have to be retrained, and they remove what's called the mark of the beast. Our bestiality tendencies are removed one by training us. So by the time you get to the seventh mansion world, you've pretty much eradicated this mark of the beast, as they say. All right, dear, you want to take the next?
The 7 mansion worlds are in charge of the Morontia supervisors and the Melchizedeks. There is an acting governor on each world who is directly responsible to the Jerusalem rulers. The Uversa conciliators maintain headquarters on each of the mansion worlds, while adjoining is the local rendezvous of the technical advisors. The reversion directors and celestial artisans maintain group headquarters on each of these worlds. The Spironga function from mansion world number 2 onward, while all 7 in common with the other traditional culture planets and the headquarters world are abundantly provided with Spornagia of standard creation.
Nobody could hear anything I'm
So,
saying. Yeah. Let me try this again. Okay, so let's go over the Spironga and the Spornagia first. The Spironga are the spiritual helpers. They help take care of the babies. They help spiritually with all the beings of the universe and that sort of stuff. That normally function from the second mansion world onward. But the Spornagia are like the gardeners and maintenance people stuff. They take care of all the worlds. Okay, so that's what these beings do on these worlds. The other 2 beings you don't have probably not heard of. First is Uversa, is the universe capital. And the conciliators and the technical advisors are there to help. They're literally the traveling courts. They help with disagreements between beings, between different types of beings, that sort of stuff. So if you have anything you need to make a judgment on against another type of being or stuff, it would be these 2 that would be involved in that process. Now, the reversion directors basically entertain us, and the celestial artisans do all the artwork and decorating and things through all the mansion worlds. And this corps, the celestial artisans, you can apply to become part of them, but you have to volunteer for 1,000 years, and you have to have talent. So to decide whether you got talent. You have no talent, you wouldn't want to apply for it because you'd be lost with these things. And they help make the mansion worlds the type of place we would live, where we would consider it as heaven. Okay, and the reason being is when you get to the mansion worlds, it's so beautiful. It's what you would consider heaven or paradise. And what they try to do is make it as close as close as they possibly can to give you that impression that you're in paradise while you're on the mansion world. Okay.
Did you move it already? 1. The finalitor's world. Although only finalitors and certain groups of salvageable children and their caretakers are resident on transitional world number 1, provision is made for the entertainment of all classes of spirit beings, transition mortals, and student visitors. Spornagia, who function on all of these worlds, are hospitable hosts to all beings whom they can recognize. They have a vague feeling concerning the finalitors, but cannot visualize them. They must regard them much as you do, the angels in the present physical state.
Okay, so the Spornagia, who help with taking care of all these things, yeah, I did. Also, help take care of the infants. You know, all the things that needs to be done to take care of a baby and that sort of thing. So when you go take care of as a volunteer parent, you don't go there for the main mundane things. You go there to actually teach the children spiritual values. Okay, so the Spornagia takes care of everything else. You also have a large core of finalitors on here, and it's interesting because we won't be able to see the finalitors when we first get to the mansion worlds, but they have the physical controllers can visualize, make them visual to us, which they do a couple times a year. And they also make the temple there visual to us because we can't see it anywhere because it's on such a high level. It's there for the finalitors. Okay, so annually they make a viewing available for the finalitors so you can communicate with them and you can see what they do and that sort of thing. So it's pretty nice.
That's nice.
Okay.
Though the finality world is the sphere of exquisite physical beauty and extraordinary Morontia embellishment, the Great Spirit abode located at the center of activities, the temple of the finalitors, is not visible to the unaided material or early Morontia vision. But the energy transformers are able to visualize many of these realities to ascending mortals. And from time to time, they do thus function as on the occasions of the class assemblies of the Mansion World students on this cultural sphere.
Unmute again. Okay, the finaliter world, like they said, is a beautiful place. It's like paradise to us. It's heaven. All right. So our concepts of heaven would be the finaliter worlds, right? And they're like a great spirit abode, okay. And they have a temple at the center of it. And it says here we can't visualize it, but they visualize it for us about once a year. Okay. And it says here that the energy transformers are able to visualize many of these realities to the ascending mortals. Well, they make it possible for us to see them. You can think of about, and it's really interesting when we did this last year, Jane mentioned the transformation. When Jesus was up on the mountain, without the energy transformers, the apostles that were with him could not have seen Gabriel and Father Melchizedek. Right? And that's just the way it was. So they made those two beings visual to the apostles. All right. And we talked about in the previous class we had on this, how this would make a psychic imprint on the humans that saw this that would never go away. They'd always remember it. Okay. But what they're talking about here is they do this as a class on the Mansion World students so that you can actually see the temple and you can actually see the finaliters. Turn back on.
Okay. So
All right, this is a illustration of the temple and the finalators and them showing everyone the finalators in the temple during a visualization. Okay.
all through the mansion world experience, you are in a way spiritually aware of the presence of your glorified brethren of paradise attainment. But it is very refreshing now and then actually to perceive them as they function in the headquarters abodes. You will not spontaneously visualize finaliters until you acquire true spirit vision.
Okay, so you won't see these normally until you acquire true spirit vision. Let me do this real quick here. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to do the multi-speaker view here so that everybody can, well, I can't do that, can I? There we go. Okay, now we have a dual picture on our extra video that I'll put out on YouTube. All right, so it's a different view. I hope it comes out right. I haven't tried this before. So, all right. So, although you can't see them, the finaliters are there, and you become spiritually aware of them being there, and they know you're there all the time. Okay. Uh, so until you actually acquire a spirit vision, that's a higher level vision. You won't visualize them spontaneously without the controllers, the physical controllers. All right.
On the first mansion world, all survivors must pass the requirements of the perennial commission from their native planets. The present Urantia commission consists of 12 perennial couples recently arrived who have had mortal experience in rearing their 3 or more children to the uh, okay, pubescent age. Service on the commission is rotational and is for only 10 years as a rule. All who fail to satisfy these commissioners as to their perennial experience must further qualify by service in the homes of the material sons on Jerusalem or in part of the probationary nursery on the finalities world.
So listen up closely. All men and all women, that includes dads, have to fulfill this parental obligation. Okay, normally they try to get you to do it on the first mansion world, but if you don't, you have to do it by the time you get to Jerusalem, the capital, by observing the material sons and daughters raise their children. Okay, so you have to get this experience, and we have 12 couples that basically have raised 3 or more children who vote as to whether you qualify after you've done this. So everything is a test, right? You keep having to go through the test throughout life. All right. But irrespective of the parental experience, mansion world parents who have growing children in their probation nursery are given every opportunity to collaborate with the Morontia custodians of such children regarding their instruction and training. These parents are permitted to journey there for visits as often as 4 times a year. It is the most touchingly beautiful scenes of all the ascendant career to observe the mansion world parents embrace their material offspring on the occasions of their periodic pilgrimages to the finaliter world. While one or both parents may leave a mansion world ahead of a child, they are often quite contemporary for a season. That's because it takes so long to get off the mansion world, right? Have to learn your lessons first. Right?
No ascending mortal can escape the experience of rearing children, their own or others. either on the material worlds or subsequently on the finaliter world or on Jerusalem. Fathers must pass through this essential experience just as certainly as mothers. It is unfortunate and mistaken notion of modern peoples on Urantia that children culture is largely the task of mothers. Children need fathers as well as mothers, and fathers need this perennial experience as much as do mothers.
Okay, you wonder why this experience is so important? I'm going to tell you. In order to understand the relationship of God the Father to his children, you must understand father and mother relations. And let me tell you what else is important about that. The eternal Son is considered the mother of the universe because all the creator sons came from what? God the Father and God the Son. So God the Son acts as the mother. Okay, it's the same thing with the infinite spirit. He or she is the creator of all the support personnel, all the angelic personnel, and everything. And in order to understand it, whether it's male or female, you have to have the experience of the mother, right? So you don't get out of understanding the relationship of fathers and mothers to their children. And this goes all the way down through the series of beings in the universe, all the way down to the creator sons and creator mother spirits, because they are the father and mother of all creatures in their local universe. So in order to understand them properly, you need the experience of being a father and mother. Okay. Right.
2. The probationary nursery. The infant receiving schools of Satania are situated on the finaliter world, the first of the Jerusalem transition culture spheres. These infant receiving schools are enterprises devoted to the nurture and training of the children of time, including those who have died on the evolutionary worlds of space before the acquirement of individual status on the universe records. In the event of the survival of either or both of such a child's parents, the guardian of destiny deputizes, thank you, honey, deputizes her associated cherubim as the custodian of the child's potential identity, charging with the responsibility of delivering the undeveloped soul into the hands of the mansion world teachers and the probationary nurseries of the Morontia worlds.
Okay, you can see why this is so important here. All right. When you're growing up, you are assigned a set of guardian angels, right? Two seraphim. You're also assigned a cherubim and a cherubim. That this is what they're talking about. They are in charge of making sure that the undeveloped soul of these children, if they die, make it to the mansion worlds, okay, on the Father's world. That's their job. They also help when they get to the mansion worlds on the finale of the world, help raising these children, okay, because they're familiar with them. All right, so you see the importance of having four angels assigned to you. The two seraphim, one keeps record when the other's recharging, the other keeps record. It's the same thing with the cherubim when you're young. The one keeps record and then the other keeps record, right? So you have four angels that make sure that your soul makes it to the mansion worlds. All right, I'm glad I unmuted during that.
It is these same deserted cherubim who, as mansion world teachers, under the supervision of the Melchizedeks, maintain such extensive educational facilities for the training of the probationary wards of the finaliters. These wards of the finaliters, these infants of ascending mortals, are always personalized as of their exact physical status at the time of death, except for reproductive potential. This awakening occurs at the exact time of the perennial arrival on the first mansion world, and then are these children given every opportunity, as they are, to choose the heavenly way, just as they would have made such a choice on the worlds were just so untimely terminated their careers.
Okay, so these phenalitors that we were talking about early help with the training of these children, and they're repersonalized in the exact state they were when they died. In other words, if they were 3 years old, they would appear as 3 years old. If they were 6 years old, they would appear as 6 years old. If they were preemies or whatever, they would arrive in that state, and they would be under the watch care of the phenalitors and these cherubim that would help raise them. And then what's interesting about this is this. These children, when the first parent arrives on the mansion world, are usually repersonalized. Now, if that parent decides they don't want to raise the child, then that child is put up for adoption by those who never had the opportunity to raise children, or those who need to finish off the requirement of raising 3 children or more. Okay, so when these parents get there and they don't want to raise any more children, they can refuse to do that, and then those become wards of the state, you could say, and then they would be up for adoption for those who are coming behind them, like me, for instance. I never had any children, and Diane only had one child, so she would have the opportunity to raise a child that their parents, when they arrived there, did not want to raise them. Now, it's interesting here too, because there is 2 parents. So the first one that comes, if the parent does not want to raise the child is not repersonalized until the mother gets there. Okay. And then if she does not want to raise the child, at that point, they would be available for adoption by other beings, right? Other people. Okay, so it's a kind of a perfect system, the way they got this worked out. So no child is left without the opportunity of a parent raising them. All right. Let's see here. On the nursery world, probationary creatures are grouped according to whether or not they have adjusters, because if they're there before 5.5, they wouldn't have an adjuster assigned yet, right? For the adjusters come to indwell these material children, just as on the worlds of time. Children of pre-adjuster ages are cared for in families of 5, ranging in ages from 1 year and under up to approximately 5 years, and that age is when the adjuster arrives. So their adjuster arrives just like they do on this planet. Picture there, we'll be talking about that. And this is a picture of the probationary nursery and these people. Oh, this is a picture of the groups of 5. So they would live in homes in groups of 5, just like they would have on this planet.
All children on the evolving worlds who have thought adjusters, but who before death had not made a choice concerning the paradise career, are also repersonalized on the finality world of the system, where they likewise grow up in the families of the material sons and their associates, as do those little ones who arrive without adjusters, but who will subsequently receive the mystery monitors after attaining the exquisite age of moral choice.
Okay, notice here it's talking about children who have received an adjuster. Okay, so if they have received an adjuster, if they're old enough, they could be assigned to the material sons and daughters on the system capital. Okay, and in that case, you would still have the opportunity to be foster parents to them, but you would do it in liaison with the material sons and daughters, their homes. Okay, so it works out best for the children in both ways. Did anybody get any of that? Was I muted the whole time? I think I was muted the whole time. Let me go back up here. Oops. Huh?
I didn't notice that.
I was muted the whole time, I believe. Okay, I'm going to just reread this whole paragraph. Y'all bear with me if I did read it. It looks like I was muted. So, the gesturing dwelt children and youths on the finale world are also reared in families of 5, ranging from ages from 6 to 14 approximately. These families consist of children whose ages are 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Anytime after 16, if final choice has been made, they translate to the first mansion world and begin their paradise ascent. Some make a choice before this age and go on to the ascension spheres, but very few children under the years of age, 16 years of age, reckoned by Urantia standards, will be found on the mansion worlds. Okay, so by 16, they have to make a decision. If they do not make a decision to, or if they make a decision not to survive, they go to sleep, they never wake up again. Okay, so they have to make a decision just like we do. If we choose not to survive, we will not wake up on the mansion worlds. And this is a picture of those from above 5. All right.
The guardian seraphim attend these youths in the probationary nursery on the finality world, just as they spiritually minister to mortals on the evolutionary planets, while the faithful Spornagia minister to their physical necessities. And so do these children grow up on the transitional world until such time as they make their final choice.
So they have to make a choice just like we do, right?
Push you.
Huh?
I made it touch you when.
Yeah, make sure I turn the audio back on. Yeah. When material life has run its course, if no choice had been made for the ascendant life, or if these children of time definitely decide against the Havona adventure, death automatically terminates their probationary careers. There is no adjudication of such cases. There is no resurrection from such a second death. They simply become as though they had not been. Now, why is this? Because since they've already gone through the death process, they already are predetermined that they can go on to the mansion worlds, right? They don't have to be re-adjudicated by the ancients of days whatsoever. They just go right on. But it also works just the opposite. If they do not choose the Havona adventure, if they do not choose the course of paradise, then they die around the age of 16 and then they never wake up again.
That's very sad.
Yeah, it is. That's why it's important for those foster parents to come in and make sure that they survive, teach them properly, right?
But if they chose the paradise path of perfection, they are immediately made ready for translation to the first mansion world, where many of them arrive in time to join their parents in the Havona ascent. After passing through Havona and attending the deities, these salvaged souls of mortal origin constitute the permanent ascendant citizenship of paradise. These children who have been deprived of the valuable and essential evolutionary experience on the worlds of mortal activity are not mustered into the core of the finality.
Now, this is an interesting point. Because they did not have the experience of living a whole life on a planet, they're not mustered into the core of finality, even if they make it all the way to paradise. Okay, they just become paradise citizens. Okay, the reason being is they don't have the experiential knowledge that you gain as being a human being, a full life as a human being. Okay, so that disqualifies them from the core of finality. All right, it's interesting too. I always wondered this question when you have a 16-year-old child that goes on to the first mansion world. You know, when we get to the first mansion world, they say we all look to be about 30 to 40 years old. right? And you don't age in the mansion worlds, right? So when these children that are 16 get to the mansion worlds, do they stay looking 16 to eternity?
I don't think that would be the case. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Makes you wonder though, doesn't it? Or do they grow older up to about 30 and then they stop? You know? Interesting question.
There's a huge difference in age and experiences.
Three, the first mansion world. On the mansion worlds, the resurrected mortal survivors resume their lives just where they left off when overtaken by death. When you go from Urantia to the first mansion world, you will notice considerable change. But if you had come from a more normal and progressive sphere of time, you would hardly notice the difference except for the fact that you were in possession of a different body. The tabernacle of flesh and blood has been left behind on the world of nativity.
Thank goodness that's not the case about our world, huh? Because if everything in our world was what is in the mansion world, we would not have much to look forward to. So that's a good thing. It says if you had come from a normal and progressive sphere. Did y'all see that? So
Yeah.
we're not normal
We're
or
not normal.
progressive. Either one. All right. And this is a picture of, boy, it's so small I can't even take. Oh, this is the picture of a mortal going from Urantia to the first mansion world. All right. And here we go. When you get to the first mansion world, the finaliter world, you're also certified to go to the finaliter world. Just as I was saying earlier, with each mansion world, it gives you another major sphere that you're qualified for and all the minor spheres with it. Okay. All right. All right. No, because it gives us feedback. Let me go through this again. I hope y'all aren't hearing this all over again because my audio was off again. So let's try this again. in the resurrection hall. It's an enormous temple, okay? And then they call it the Temple of Personality Assembly because what they do is they take your personality, plug it back into your soul, which comes with the thought adjuster. The thought adjuster is there. He re-inhabits your with your soul and your new body. And the destiny guardians make sure that your mind is replugged into with your personality to make you sure you are who you are, and the archangel is there to make sure that that's really you. Okay, and then the life carriers gives you the spark of life. I went through it all over again. Okay, and here's the resurrection hall with the archangel, the destiny guardians, the life carriers, and the thought adjuster. And there's thousands and thousands of these on the mansion worlds. Okay, let's try.
The mortal mind transcripts and the active creature's memory patterns as transformed from the material levels to the spiritual are the individual possession of the detached thought adjusters. These spiritized factors of mind, memory, and creature personality are forever a part of such adjusters. The creature mind matrix and the passive potentials of identity are present in the Morontia soul, entrusted to the keeping of the seraphic destiny guardians. And it is the reuniting of the Morontia soul trust of the seraphim and the spirit mind trust of the adjuster that reassembles creature personality and constitutes resurrection of a sleeping survivor.
Okay, this is pretty complicated, isn't it? Okay, so let's go through this one step at a time. Okay, so what we're going is from a creature mind memory pattern of a physical being, okay, on the material level, all right? And that mind level of information are transposed into spiritual possessions of the thought adjuster. Okay, so all this stuff the thought adjuster does when you're asleep, that's what it's doing. It's spiritualizing your material experience, right? Okay, that's the most important part of that. All right. So the thought adjusters are the spiritualized factors of mind and memory. So everything you remember and everything that's in your mind and your creature personality become forever a part of the thought adjuster. And once it's a part of the thought adjuster, it can never be separated again. Okay, so those mind memories of who you are, who you were, who you forever will be is the thought adjuster owns. And the reason being, when you fuse with the thought adjuster, you will be you forever. Now, an interesting point on this I want to explain is this: if you do not survive, that is still the case. Okay, so if you do not survive, all your memories of who you are, who you were, your personality factors, all these things are still part of the thought adjuster. So that thought adjuster will be reassigned to a different person. So that different person will get the benefit of all the memories of your mind because they become possessions of the thought adjuster. Okay, which is hard to understand. Then it goes on to say that the mind matrix, the passive potential of identity of who you are present in the Morontia soul. In other words, the soul that the thought adjuster has been building all this time, okay, is entrusted to the keeping of the seraphic destiny guardians. So it's the seraphic destiny guardians that carry your soul at death to the mansion worlds, which is different than the adjuster, right? So your soul that's been built up, this is your new Morontia soul, is transported by the seraphic destiny guardians, your guardian angels. All right. So the Morontia, the reuniting of the Morontia Soul Trust of the Seraphim, and the Spirit Mind Trust of the Adjuster. Now, y'all see what I'm talking about here? So the Adjuster has your mind trust. The Destiny Guardians has your soul trust. So they have to be put back together. All right. So when these two things are reassembled, then your creature personality comes back to you, and that constitutes resurrection of the sleeping survivor. So the guardian angel is there to make sure your soul gets put back in, and the archangel has a record of your mind. Okay, so they make sure that that soul and that adjuster and the potentials of the soul and the mind that come back together end up being who you are. Now, if somebody messes up and puts your mind trust back into another Morontia blank, if you want to call it, with an adjuster, the guardian angel's job is to say, wait, this is not the adjuster that was assigned to the soul. You see what I'm saying? So that's the catch 54. In other words, that's what makes sure that when you wake up, you are who you were when you went to sleep. A lot to it. Did I make that clear?
Yeah.
If a transitory personality of mortal origin should never be thus reassembled, the spirit elements of the non-surviving mortal creature would forever continue as an integral part of the individual experiential endowment of the one-time indwelling adjuster.
So, you see what I'm saying here? If your personality of mortal origin does not make it past this life, then that trust becomes part of the thought adjuster, and it's still part of the thought adjuster when it's reassigned to another human being. Okay? Pretty amazing, isn't it? All right, from the Temple of New Life, there extends 7 radial wings, the resurrection halls of the mortal races. Each of these structures is devoted to the assembly of one of the 7 races of time. There are 100,000, get this, 100,000 personal resurrection chambers in each of these 7 wings. So that means there's 700,000 resurrection chambers going out in 7 directions. Okay? Terminating in the circular class assembly halls, which serve as the awakening chamber for as many as 1 million individuals. These halls are surrounded by the personality assembly chambers of the blended races of the normal post-Adamic worlds, regardless of the technique which may be employed on the individual worlds of time in connection with special or dispensational resurrections. The real and conscious reassembly of actual complete personality takes place in the resurrection halls of Mansonia number 1, Mansion World number 1. Throughout all eternity, you will recall the profound memory impressions of your first witnessing of these resurrection mornings. So you'll remember being resurrected. And this is a picture of the seven resurrection halls on Mansion World number 1. And these are the halls for the blended races after Adam and Eve. So it can do up to 1 million. All right. And this is just an example of the resurrection halls of the blue races and the mixed races after that. And we would be part of this one if you were. You'd be part of a different one if you were other kind of colors. All right. And this is the Temple of New Life. They're at the halls. These are all the resurrection halls. At the center of this is the Temple of New Life. Okay, and here's an example of the special resurrection of Adam and Eve They had little beds they woke up on too when they came back. Didn't thing. And this is the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. All right.
From the resurrection halls, you proceed to the Melchizedek sector, where you are assigned permanent residence. Then you enter upon 10 days of personal liberty. You are free to explore the immediate vicinity of your new home and to familiarize yourself with the program which lies immediately ahead. You also have time to gratify your desire to consult the registry and call upon your loved ones and other earth friends who may have preceded you to these worlds. At the end of your 10-day period of leisure, you begin the second step in the paradise journey, for the mansion worlds are actual training spheres, not merely detention planets.
Did you notice that they said these are training spheres, not merely detention planets? In other words, keeping you from going on because you're too barbaric. Okay, but the first 10 days, you have freedom to go consult the registries and see who's got there before you, your friends and families, that sort of thing. But remember, 10 days on the mansion worlds is equivalent to about 30 days on Earth time. Okay, so it's longer than you think it would be. All right. On mansion world number 1 or another in cases of advanced status, that's who's spiritually advanced, you will resume your intellectual training and spiritual development at the exact same level whereon you were interrupted by death. Between the time of planetary death or translation, that means you fuse with your adjuster and went on, and resurrection on the mansion world, mortal man gains absolutely nothing aside from the experience of the fact of survival. You begin over there, right where you left off down here. So if you want to go to higher mansion worlds, you need to prepare, learn spiritual things while you're on this planet.
Among the entire experience of mansion world number 1, what almost, what did I say? Huh? Okay. Almost the entire experience of mansion world number 1 pertains to the deficiency ministry. Survivors arriving on this first of the detention spheres present so many percent of spheres, present so many and such varied defects of creature character and deficiencies of mortal experience that the major activities of the realm are occupied with the correction and the cure of these manifold legacies of the life in the flesh on the material evolutionary worlds of time and space.
So you could say this is a correction sphere, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to fix all the things that you learned wrong when you were on the world. The sojourn on the mansion world number 1 is designed to develop mortal survivors at least up to the status of post-Adamic dispensation on the normal evolutionary world. So there are other worlds that aren't this bad, right? Spiritually, of course, the mansion world students are far in advance of such a state of mere human development. So when most of the people that get to the mansion worlds aren't in the state we are, right? They aren't as barbaric and things like that. So, right here.
If you are not to be detained on mansion world number 1, at the end of 10 days, you will enter the translation sleep and proceed to world number 2. And every 10 days thereafter, you will thus advance until you arrive on the world of your assignment.
Okay, so every 10 days, they evaluate you to see whether they should kick you up to the next world. So if you get there more spiritually advanced, you'll get kicked up to the next world. All right. Got 2 more slides, so I think I'm going to go on with this until we get to the end of this section. The center of the 7 major circles of the first mansion world administration is occupied by the temple of the Morontia companions. the personal guides assigned to ascending mortals. So these are assigned to you to keep you company if you arrive there with nobody, like a husband, wife, or any family. These companions are the offspring of the local universe mother spirit, and they are several million of them on the Morontia worlds of Satania. Aside from those assigned as group companions, you will have much to do with the interpreters and translators, the building custodians, and the excursion supervisors. And all of these companions are most cooperative with those who have to do with the development of your personality factors of mind and spirit within the Morontia body. So the Morontia companions are there to keep you company and entertain you, right? Okay, would you take the last one, dude?
As you start out in the first mansion world, one Morontia companion is assigned to each company of 1,000 ascending mortals, but you will encounter larger numbers as you progress through the 7 mansion spheres. These beautiful and versatile beings are companionable associates and charming guides. They are free to accompany individuals or selected groups to any of the transition culture spheres, including their satellite worlds. They are the excursion guides and leisure associates of all ascending mortals. They often accompany survivor groups on periodic visit to Jerusalem. And on any day you are there, you can go to the ministry, the registry. You can go to the ministry too. No, you can go to the registry sector of the system capital and meet ascending mortals from all 7 of the mansion worlds, since they freely join back and forth between their residential abodes and the system headquarters.
Okay, so this means that even though you have relatives and things like that that have gone on higher mansion worlds, you can still see and visit with them because they go back and forth and that sort of thing. And this is kind of a student class of that. And we're going to stop there. Let me stop the share and go to the prayer of acceptance. Okay, and I'll read it tonight. Prayer of acceptance. I believe that God is my paradise Father, that only by faith am I saved. No sacrifice is necessary. By the same faith, I became a child of God and know that all men and women are my brothers and sisters. We know the Son of God, the sovereign of our universe of Nebadon, is Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. By allowing the will of God to become my will, I will someday stand in the presence of the Paradise Father. In the name of Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen. Okay, and for all of y'all at home, I want to thank you for coming and listening to this video, because nobody else is here but me and my wife. But I hope lots of people see this online, and we're getting increased more and more numbers of people watching our videos. And I've been doing a lot of work on shorts and things like that for some inspirational stuff. I am working on a book that should be done by the end of next month, probably, about the origins and destiny of deity. And so I'll be sharing that with y'all as that comes out. And that's about it. Anything else is going on. So thank you for coming.
Yes.
Please come see us again. Bye-bye.
Good night.